We're not online.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is John Lohr. I'm Chair of the Millis Finance Committee. I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, April 8th of 2026, and we're a little late because of technical difficulties, so it is 7:05 that we're starting this meeting. Before we get going, why don't I have everybody introduce themselves, starting off to my far left. Jen?
Hi, Jen Zarutsky.
Into the microphone.
Jen Zarutsky.
You know, Joyce Boyardi.
Eric Marthinson.
Mike Crone.
Mark Johnson.
Brett Hausler.
Thank you. And Pete Berube should be on his way here, and Heidi will not be joining us. And we're going to fidget around a little bit as we try to get our online Zoom and online televising here. But in the meantime, I'd like to remind everybody that they can access all this information through their local channels, Comcast Channel 6, Verizon Channel 38. You can also go to the website millismedia.org. We're trying to live stream it, so hopefully we'll get there in a little bit. Is this working or not, Amanda? Not yet?
No, I started
No,
it
it has no microphone.
Yeah.
if that would do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So in a few minutes, hopefully we'll be on YouTube. As always, you can come down and watch the meeting live, just like school committee as well as select board. All the material that we cover tonight will be available online on the FinCom webpage on the Millis website. So because of the technical difficulties, we're going to do a few things out of order right now. We're going to get to you in a second. But we're going to start off with Capital Planning Committee, which Eric Marthinson's going to do. Jonathan Berry is in transit from Boston right now, so he's running late. So, Eric, if you could give us a capital planning update for this town meeting coming up in the warrant.
Sure thing. So the Capital Planning Committee, as you know, looks at the.
Mike might be dead.
Is that there? We go. All right, 4 inches right in front.
Yeah.
From the other night, they weren't working.
If you-
Okay. Well, we'll adjust. We'll adjust if we need to.
There we go.
So as you know, the Capital Planning Committee looks at the various capital requests from the departments and puts them through a rubric to figure out what falls into high, medium, and low priorities. And this year we looked at just over 1.9 million worth of requests. And they all fell into either the highest or the medium categories. None of them qualified to be what we would consider a low category. The things we looked at of the highest priority were some new self-contained breathing apparatus equipment for the fire department, some EMS infusion pumps for the fire department as well, and those are really mandated. It's safety equipment. In the case of the SCBA, the self-contained breathing apparatus equipment, they're simply at the end of their serviceable life, and the EMS infusion pumps is a new mandate that we're required to have in our ambulances. And then the third highest priority were the water meter replacements, and this is for the water department. The existing water meters are, again, very old and not giving consistent readings. And then for the medium priorities, we had a DPW trailer, which is a bit of a misnomer because it doesn't move anything. It's their office. And it's currently falling apart, so this is a replacement for that. There's some fire station renovations to give them a little more space and the ability to have more on-call firefighters during the night. The keyless entry system for the library, which was actually approved, 1 or 2 town meetings
I think
ago.
the last one, yep,
Yeah, the last one.
correct.
Although the project ran out of money, it's coming back. A new police command vehicle, some tech upgrades, a computer server and a wireless system for CFB, high school lab computers, and then some renovations here in the Veterans Memorial Building. So replacing some flooring and redoing the parking lot outside. So that's everything that we looked at and the priorities that we put them in. And that went to the select board for their consideration.
Were there any low priorities?
None.
Okay. And just for the audience, can you, if you're comfortable, what's the purpose of the capital planning committee in terms of ranking these? Who do you do it for?
Oh, yeah, we do it for the select board. So we put them into a rough priority order, and then the select board will pick, basically based upon available funds, what gets approved and what doesn't get approved.
And those funds come from where?
They come from
Free cash?
free cash,
Free cash? Free cash.
generally.
Yep. Okay. Any other thoughts?
No, any other questions?
Anybody have any questions for Eric? No questions for Eric. Okay. Thank you very much. Actually, I do have one question.
Sure.
And this might not be fair to ask you, since you're kind of new, but looking at the long-term 10-year plan, how do you smooth that out over time and try to avoid any spikes in capital planning requests? Or is it just more of a chart in terms of when funds are needed?
It's more of a chart based on when funds are needed, based upon what the departments have communicated to us in regards to what they see coming, and most of it is planned maintenance and repairs. So vehicles that are going out of service, equipment at the fire department that has a limited life, stuff like that.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, why don't we, all good?
Yeah, I was just saying, I went to review it to see what he was looking at, and it's not in our,
It's,
what page was that in our, because I've been scrolling and I'm just finding preservation.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Would have been nice.
Okay, with that said, hello Pete. Pete Berube is joining us. Stuck in traffic, but all good. It's all right. Jonathan Berry is stuck too, so you're not alone. Moving on to the Community Preservation Committee. Nate, are you ready? I'm ready. All right, come on down.
Is that your name?
And our IT guy's here. Let's see if we can get this rolling first. Thank you for coming down, Jim. Amanda broke it.
It lights up.
The advantages of having somebody who lives in town.
If we can get this up and running, Nate, I just want to have it so it's broadcasted so people can watch. There's a mouse if you need it. This is Jim's chance to be a hero. Not all heroes wear capes. Jim is a hero tonight.
Great advantage of him living in town. Be able to troubleshoot us.
It's lighting up red.
Oh my God.
Magic.
What was it?
Yeah, what was the issue? Yeah, for the record, we tried that as well. All right, mental note, do it 4 times. All right, Jim, thank you very much for saving us. All right, have a good night. Nate, appreciate your patience.
Well, I know how that works.
It's
Technology, love it.
only good when it works. When you're ready, please start when you're ready.
Okay, Nathan Malsinski, I'm Chair of the Community Preservation Committee, and here to present our articles for town meeting for May. So we did meet as a committee on March 24th and voted for all these articles that you have in front of you. One is the annual, I guess, laundry list that we do every year. So we appropriate funds to each account for each department. So historical resource reserve, community housing, open space, and budget reserve. So we're appropriating $34,591 to each of those three. And then the budget reserve will receive $80,000. The undesignated fund balance for long-term debt interest is $5,520. And undesignated fund balance for long-term principal is $20,000. And administrative expenses is $17,296, which I don't think we ever meet that max account. But Camille is our admin for this. She does a great job, so she gets paid for her time that she puts in.
Okay.
So we have several articles that we approved at our meeting in March. The Millis Mohawks booster came to us for a sum of $12,000 for a new scoreboard, our forest scoreboard, for the high school baseball field, which has never had one. The actual cost is about $24,000. They asked for half of that, since they have some funds that they've raised through their fundraising efforts. And so they asked for $12,000, and the committee voted unanimously to appropriate the $12,000 for this cause.
Question on that. There's a few questions here from the committee. How does the scoreboard or something that might be school-related fit into the community preservation?
For recreation.
Recreation?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. And it has approval from the school committee and from the town school principal and whatnot. So they did present it to them, and they approved of it. It's the same as the girls softball scoreboard that's out here.
Yep.
And they will also have donated electrical connections made by one of our residents. Jose Reyes will donate some of his time and experience to connect that. I know that they did have a problem with the same scoreboard as far as they're going to install it because it voids a warranty, and it's a good thing they did, because this scoreboard, the face, the paint start coming off it.
Okay.
Same company, they honored their warranty, and so they will be installing it, and all we have to do is hook up the electrical.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. And then the Metro West Collaborative Development met with us last year and entertained us with the 1178 Main Street project for affordable housing. And the parameters that they expressed to us back then were a lot different. And so they came back in March and are requesting $200,000 for funding from community housing budget to have seed money so they can approach the state to apply for the funding to build this building down there. And so the committee voted unanimously to award $200,000 via the community housing fund, and then it will be this will go to town meeting for the vote for the taxpayers.
And I have a question. Is that a normal process in terms of a developer to ask for funds, like in this situation? I'm just trying to think if I've seen it before, and or maybe I'm not as familiar as I should
So
be.
previously, they asked us to fund the whole project, which we don't have the resources to do that. Medway has engaged with them on a very similar project, and they gave them all the money. They have a lot more resources to work with. This will just, it's a placeholder, so they have to have the seed money and show that they have money in place to move forward, and then get the funding from the state and from the federal government.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Mike.
So this money will be held in an escrow account pending approval of the program?
Yes,
And this is a nonprofit organization, is that correct?
that's correct.
So whatever buildings are built there will not be taxable?
They will be taxable,
They will?
yes. Would you, yeah, they will.
Okay.
Would you like to come up and speak on the project? I'm not as versed.
Yeah, please do.
I don't want to misspeak for.
Either sit the podium or sit down. You just need to be 4 inches away from the microphone so we can hear you. That's all.
Sure. My name is Barney Heath. I'm the Executive Director of Metro West Collaborative. So happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah, if you could talk to us a little bit about taxability of the property once it's constructed.
Yeah, it'll be treated like any other property and be taxed accordingly.
Okay.
Can you, while you're here, a couple other questions. Could you speak on, in terms of Millis residents having the availability to live in the units?
I can.
And elaborate on that, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there would be, we would apply the maximum local preference percentage, which would be, 70%. And that would be at initial lease-up of the property. And then there would be a waiting list presumably, and we would use the waiting list after that for units that became available.
So just to clarify, this came up in another select board discussion recently. So is that in year one and years after that, that Millis residents will have priority, or is it just 1 year and then it's?
Just at the beginning, yeah,
Okay.
that's the state requirement. So you can have it at the beginning, but after that, you go to the waiting list.
Okay, gotcha. Brett, did you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask a slight offshoot of your original question, which is, here we go, which is the funding, alternative sources of funding. So, for example, going to the Community Preservation Committee initially for the full amount, didn't have the resources for it. So went out, found alternative sources of funding, have returned asking for $200,000. There's, of course, state and federal support, which was briefly mentioned. What are the other sources of funding available when seeking to advance a project like this?
Yeah, so it's a combination. The local match is essential to attract the state funding for a project like this, and the principal source would be from low-income housing tax credits that the state gets an allocation of. So we would apply for those. We've been successful in the past in a number of communities getting those, but the number of sources involved is big, including there'll be a mortgage on the property as well that'll be supported from operating revenues. But mainly it's state and federal and what other money we can attract. But the local match is essential.
Go ahead, Pete.
Good evening. Could you kindly refer us to a website or someplace where we could find out more about your other projects?
Absolutely. If you go to Metro West Collaborative, you can see all our projects. We have our past projects, our current projects, and this one falls under prospective projects. So we also have a web page for this particular proposal, which is 1178 Main Street.
Thank you very much. And there's a typo one way or the other, and I wanted to clarify it in, I think, the letter Nate. There's either a zero missing or a comma misplaced, and it's for the total budget for the project, which means that it's either perhaps a $28 million project
Yes.
or a $2.8 million project, so it does make a difference.
I think
Could
you
you
should add
just
the zero.
Add the
It
zero.
is a $28 million. That's what we're projecting.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You bet.
So I'll just elaborate a little bit more. This parcel was pre-approved to be built on, so it's, everything's in place. It does have water and sewer connection availability already. And it's, so like you said, the first round, so the residents will have 70% will have, most residents have first dibs at moving into this. Once those people move out, then it's a free-for-all. Anybody can apply to live in these affordable units.
Eric, did you have a question?
Yeah, just a quick one. Do you know, so with adding 48 40B units, low-income units, do you know how close that gets us to filling our quota?
I don't. Bob can probably add to that. I don't have that number. We're just the recipients of the project. We don't have all the details.
Go ahead, Bob. How are you?
Good. Bob Weiss, Economic Development Planning Director for the town. We are required, our 10% of the 3,399 units of housing that we have, we're required to have 340 units of subsidized, of affordable housing. We now have 146 units, so we need another 153 units.
Go ahead, Joyce.
And how does this differ from, there's been talk about how much percentage of somebody's salary is considered for affordable housing? I know there are different levels. Yeah, that would be great if somebody could answer that.
That's a great question and an important distinction here. Our project would be targeted for folks at 60% of area median income and 30% of area median income. Most 40Bs target their affordability at 80% area median income. So it's a much lower percentage of rent that one would pay, and also a much lower income qualification.
Does the talk of possible having HUD come and do a build for us, is that a different level of 40B? We've got talk of land being transferred, it's been tabled, but there are different levels of low income or affordable housing. So is this like the middle kind of affordable housing? Or is this for somebody, do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I know what you're getting at, which is the 30% is generally considered the very low income. So we'd have I think 16 to 20 units at that level, and then the rest would be at 60%, which is still well below most 40B projects.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And also, that income is on page 9 in there too. Yep, good question.
But not
Go-
everybody.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I just want to ask, are all of the residences going to be completed 100% and move-in ready at the same time? It's not going to be a staggered build.
So it is 2 buildings, but my sense is that it would be all completed at once. That's generally how we do our projects.
I only ask because if 70% is 1 year from the beginning of the build, I just want to make sure that it's 100% of the population that would be considered.
Yeah, so we'll do the lottery for this at the same time for all of the units.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Nate.
Perfect. So see, I can answer all that. Bring in the
You're doing a good job.
Something I did, so everybody good with this project?
Yep.
Medway did the project, and it's beautiful, and they have a 3% surcharge, and then they get matching funds, so they have a lot more to work with on that. So we looked into it, our select board looked into it, and they thought it was a very viable project, so we approved of it unanimously. If you have no more questions on that, I just wanted to let you know our surcharge estimates for 2023 would be $224,236. Our state match would be $50,453. So like Medway would get $150,000, so we only get $50,000 because we're 1% minus our senior discount deductible. So an average of $274,689 for the fiscal '23.
Go ahead, Mike.
So when you're talking about surcharge, are you talking about the surcharge on recordation of deeds and so forth at the registry of deeds, or where is the surcharge coming from?
Surcharges on your tax. There's, if you look on your tax bill, there's.
There's surcharge on property taxes?
On property tax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All good?
I'm good.
All right, thank you, Nate.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your patience. Okay, we did that. We did capital planning. Can we go into debt service? Jody, come on down. Let us get, what page are you on? What page are you on? Page 43 for the packet. How we doing tonight?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Absolutely. So you all have had a chance, hopefully, to look at the debt service that we are budgeting for FY '27. Really the most notable change that is different this year over last year is that we will begin borrowing for the middle school, high school project. So what you'll see is a short-term interest-only payment. We're planning on actually going to market this May. We're going to be borrowing about $6 million, which is a portion of the approved $125 million that was voted at last town meeting. And our interest-only payment on that is about $240,000. So that will be made sometime in FY '27. That $6 million represents the initial construction, and will cover any of the cash flow needs during during fiscal '27. Other than that, our general long-term debt and some of the short-term debt that we have on the books is just the same debt that we've carried for the last several years. And we did have a little bit drop off, which we'll get into a little bit later on this evening when we talk about the budget as a whole. But you'll notice that year over year, again, it's about $200,000 different than last year. So that's really where we are with debt. Like I said, the biggest news to report is that we're going to start borrowing a portion of the middle school, high school renovation project.
Question on that.
Yes.
So this is the 6 million of the 125 million?
Correct.
And how does Millis go about getting the different tranches to get up to 125 million?
So we'll do another borrowing after this phase of borrowing.
Like another 6
next
million?
year.
Or
Nope.
no- or the whole
depend-
thing?
Totally dependent on cash flows. So we work very closely with our owner's project manager, and we will anticipate what our cash flow needs are going into the next fiscal year. And based upon that, we'll stagger our borrowing. We'll probably do another short-term borrowing before the larger borrowing. That'll happen sometime in '28.
A follow-up question then, Mike.
Sure.
Based on where borrowing interest rates are right now, if rates were to drop by whatever percentage, would that be a catalyst to change how you borrow?
Of course. I mean, we'll continue to work with our financial advisors. Right now, we're anticipating assumed borrowing rates at 4%. The municipal market lags a little bit behind the general bond market. So right now, we're anticipating 4% as a cost of borrowing going into this short-term ban. But then, again, as market conditions change, we'll certainly keep an eye on that to make sure that if it makes sense for us to borrow a larger amount and lock it in for longer, say 3.5%, something goes in that direction, then our advisors will certainly advise us in that direction.
Gotcha. Mike, you have a question?
Yes. So the state is going to compensate approximately 64 million, I think it was. Does that come at the end as a reimbursement, or do they match funds going along through construction?
Typically, as we have reimbursable expenses, we can submit for reimbursements along the way.
Okay, thank you.
That's really it for debt. So those are the highlights, but certainly if folks have questions on anything more in the details of what projects we're continuing to borrow on, shoot me an email. I'll be happy to provide further details.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jody.
You're welcome.
All right.
Much quicker meeting, huh?
I know, right? Well, I'm on again, so I don't have to go too far.
All right, DPW. The- We can stretch it out for you.
It depends on
Jim.
you, Jim. It all depends on you.
All right, so we have to go through some formalities and introductions here, because we have a new face here,
So I can do that for you.
uh,
I'm Jim McKay, I'm the past DPW director, and luckily David Ramachi is sitting beside me. David's worked with the Millis DPW for 15 years, and luckily for the town of Millis and all us Millis residents, he accepted the position as the DPW director. I've worked with
Congratulations.
David for over, like I said, for 15 years. I hired him 15 years ago, and it was the best decision I ever made in my career here in Millis. I always keep on telling David that there's one good thing. I had David, David doesn't have David. So I always had, anything that I relied on, it was through him. I've stopped, well, luckily for him, we've stopped with, Dave, I volunteered you for this, and everything else. So I'll let David speak, and then, good.
Yeah, and if I, no, yeah, you good?
Yeah, I'm just going to go through the budget, and then he's going to go through the capital items.
And if I could just take a half step backwards, Ramachi, is that how we're pronouncing your middle name? Are we saying that correct?
Correct.
I know that came up the other night, so I just want to make sure, because
We'll quiz you with the spelling later.
Mark's a numbers guy, not a literate guy, so I just want to make sure. All right, thank you, go ahead.
Yes, thank you all for having me. Do you want to start, Jim, or you want me to start with the?
You want me to go over the budget quickly? And
However you two want to do it, whatever you're comfortable with.
I mean, the only reason why that I'm doing the budget is this budget was presented to the finance director and the town administrator back in November.
Yep.
And it's still a work in progress. There are still, there could be some changes to major changes depending on the Ask Me Council agreement. There's still good faith negotiations between the town and the union. So the town administrator just asked if I would present the budget that I prepared for him back in November, and go forward with that.
Perfect, go right ahead.
So I think Amanda has it up on the screen. I think the.
Yeah,
Would you like me to start with this page?
Yes.
that's the next page, or the hierarchy.
Yeah. So the org chart, I mean, there's been names changes. There's not any additions to that, and that's just something I always did and kept everybody where they belong. So the Department of Public Works consists of 4 divisions with 7 budget line items. The general fund has 4 budgets. The sewer enterprise fund has 1, the water enterprise fund, and the stormwater enterprise fund. The request for the budget for FY '27 for all the budgets combined is $6,571,970. And I'll get into breakdown of all those amounts in the next couple of slides. The first of this general fund, the salaries for FY '27 is the request of $508,982. That's an increase of $3,832. The expenses, there's a request of $455,956. There's an increase of $48,400. So the total for the FY '27 request is $964,938. And the best way I can break it down for you is FY '26, we requested $912,706. So there is an increase of $52,232. The large increase in the expenses, if you go to the breakdown of all the pages, you'll see where they are, but I can highlight them quickly, is the irrigation field for the town parks, the town park in the Clyde Brown Field, that comes under it's in the DPW budget, and like everybody else that we all know, our increases went up in July 15%. Well, that also went up, for this year because it's not free. The general fund has to pay back the enterprise funds. It's a legal requirement, and there's nothing that can be done about that. Do you have a question yet?
I do. Did DPW just go through new union negotiations?
They're still in the
Still into
midst
it,
of them. That's
so-
why I say that could change.
Okay,
That
I just want to
number's-
make, so that's not a confirmed number
No,
for
so
FY '27
Maybe I
just
should-
yet?
Yeah, so,
But close.
There was definitely a decrease from my salary to David's salary, and there was decrease, there's been an office turnover, the
Mm-hmm.
office manager and the department assistant also, all 3 of us retired all at the same time.
Yes.
And I'll get into that at my last comment.
Perfect.
About that later.
Yeah.
So in all of these, there are 3 decreases in all the salary line items to cover them, because they're 4-way splits for all 3 of those people. So the fields, getting back to the fields, you know, they pay just like everybody else pays for the, and it's the last bill that we received for the last, which would have been for the last quarter, which would have been from July, August, September, was over $30,000+, and that was just for 2 fields. So there has to be an increase there, because if there isn't an increase in that line item, something else has to suffer for it, you know, whether it be patching a road, maintaining a vehicle, or something like that, because the budget has to balance it.
And did you say that was just water?
That's just water.
That's just water.
Just water, no sewer.
Yeah.
So, that covers that, not just that, and there was a little, there's the landfill monitoring, which is also covered under the DPW budget, even though that's an outside source. The contract the town administrator and the new DPW director signed there's an increase of that between $5,000. We still don't know what the increase of the testing, because each of the homes up an Island Road that abut the cap landfill, we have to do monitoring for their wells, and we do tests for everything. So those costs still have to go up for that.
Question, Peter?
I do have a question. Do users of the town fields pay for their portion prorated or otherwise for the water bills?
So the only thing, only revenue that comes into the, for the usage of the fields, it comes to the recreation department, and the only, if there's a separate rental from like a ball club, if they want to rent the field, they would pay a separate fee. I don't know what that cost is. And the only other one is the flag football. They pay a percentage per person for the field.
Do those usage fees cover the water bill?
No. No way.
I bring it up, I have an interest in this.
It's not a personal interest, but I serve as the treasurer of Millis Youth Baseball,
Yeah.
as several people know here. Millis Youth Baseball pays their water bill. It is probably about 10 grand a year for just, now we use many fields, but the Little League field with the fence and the whole bit, that field alone is close to 10 grand a year. And it's an issue that we would like to resolve, not that we're looking to kind of put the screws to anybody else that's using town fields, but it is a draw on Millis Youth Baseball and the ability to run the league. And it increases the fees to the parents. So our fees for collecting, and I'll stop because, again, I don't want to derail what's more important. But those fees that are collected for participants of baseball help us 100% pay for water usage on the field.
Right, and if, I'll put words in your mouth, because, so what you're saying is should all sports or users of the fields include a potential water fee?
And I don't think we should have the discussion here, but I do think that discussion needs to be held.
Okay, fair enough.
And I agree.
All right.
Everything that was just stated.
Yeah.
And it's been, hopefully, in the next couple of months, we will have that discussion. So the next is the transfer station. There is absolutely no change in that because of the salary line item and the department assistants and the DPW director salaries don't come out of that. So until there's a contract negotiated, so there'd be no change in that. And expense line items in that, you know, we felt that they can cover each other for a tight year, that we were asked to keep everything in line. We felt that was a good idea. So the total budget for that is $378. Snow and ice, absolutely the same. There's no increase because it's year over year. I think that you all understand that that's the only budget that cannot be, once if you raise it to $500,000, then you can't lower it again.
So could you just
It has
take,
to stay
so we
there.
have a few new members, one of them's missing. But could you just elaborate on that a little bit, just so everybody understands?
So legally, this is the only budget that can override its allocated amount of money, and that being $219,049. We go back to the selectmen. I think it's the first year that we didn't, because of the change. We usually come to the finance committee and advise when it goes over that $219,000. But legally, it just can do it. So I can tell you that from our estimations, and everything's not final yet, we think from this 219,000, we believe there's an additional $225,000 that's going to be needed somewhere. It's going to have to come from, town administrator can, figure out where he's going to get the money to pay for that. But it has to be paid by, I believe, the next town meeting, the next May town meeting. And I think he'll address that, probably when he gets up and speaks.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
And actually, just a quick, 2 years ago, we didn't meet that $219,000. So the money that was there, if you all remember the salt shed, how in disrepair that was. So there was like 25, 30,000 left over. The DPW workers refaced it, so that money went to there. So it's very rare that there's money left over, but in the last couple of 3 years, I mean, this is the first year in the past 5 that, it's gone to $200-something thousand.
Gotcha.
Street lighting, again, that's, so the street lighting, what that does is that pays for the cost of the ornamental lights that get knocked over 3, 4, 5 times a year on Route 109. It pays for the electricity for those, and it also pays for the electricity for all the street lights in the neighborhoods and stuff like that. Question?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
What does?
Another one of my favorites.
Yeah. Does Eversource charge us per light a set fee?
Yes.
And what is that fee today?
Did Bob leave that? Bob takes care of that.
Oh, that's all right.
It's not much. It's like 40 to something
Yeah.
dollars. There's no it's not metered.
Right.
So there's just a
set
basic
fee per
service,
light.
Correct.
And does that include maintenance of the light itself?
No.
It no longer
We own
does.
them all.
Okay, all right.
Millis owns every light in the town of Millis now. The above ones and the ornamental lights.
And help me with my memory. Didn't we pass an article last
We did.
town meeting?
It was $70,000,
Yeah.
and because of the tariffs and everything else, it's been taking a long time to get these
Ah,
lights in. David has received, I think, all the tops, all the heads of them. Now we're just waiting for the poles.
gotcha.
And as I stated Monday night, if I was here during the design phase of those sidewalks, they all would have been put on the back side of the sidewalks, but it wasn't done. How those cars drive over those and knock them over and drive away is beyond me. I mean, the good thing about this, 90% of these lights that get knocked over, we know the police find them, and the insurance companies pay for them. We have an outside firm that comes in, they fight with the insurance company, and whatever they barter back and forth, the light gets put back up.
Yeah.
But over the years, there's been 4 or 5 of them that we had no clue of, we couldn't find them. And the expense for one of those lights for the town to go to the insurance company, they cost about like $9,500 and doesn't include the installation of them. So last November, we did get an article for $70,000, which we purchased 10 of them. Like I said, there's homes there that haven't had lights in front of their house for 8, 9 years, and one of these days they're gonna walk out there and it's gonna be there, and that'll be his problem to listen to them.
No complaints.
ask
What's that
another
light doing
question?
there? Go ahead.
So new developments that come in.
Yes.
I know I live in one that
Yep.
was about 15 years ago, but are we requiring streetlights? And if we are requiring, are we requiring that the developer install them?
Sure. So as a member of the planning board, we do that now. There's been several of the developments that they did not do that, but if you go through Hickory Hills, Emerson Place, we always make them put them on the intersections, at least in the intersections of in, out, and if there's a cul-de-sac, we make them put them on there. So yes, they install them, but then eventually when the roads get taken over, we assume the bill.
Okay.
So the total budget, and I can break it down quickly, is last year, it was $1,349,883. And this year, it's $1,402,215, and that's the increase of the $52,232 in the expenses and salaries for the highway division. So next, we have the Water Enterprise Fund. Salaries at $630,301. Expenses is $1,845,025 for a total of $2,475,326. Last year, we had requested $2,621,574. So there's a decrease of $146,248. Working with the finance director last year, we thought we were going to have a large expense that was gonna be coming to us, so when we did the budget, we felt let's best ask for it now, instead of wait until the Maytown meeting. We did not expend any of that money, so luckily that it was 125,000 something, will be going back into the reserve funds for the water enterprise funds. I'll get into, goals and stuff that we did with the PFAS plants at the end of the presentation. So the sewer enterprise fund is $351,473. Expenses is $1,511,217. So the total budget is $1,862,690. The FY '26 was $1,702,501. The increase is $160,189. The increase for that is we are sending more sewerage to the Charles River Pollution District because of the new developments that are online. I mean, let's remember, Toll Brothers is 100% occupied, so all that sewerage is going there. There been like 20-something homes since this last budget at Emerson Place are online. We're gonna see an increase in sewerage going from the gateway to Millis, the third building. As you drive by it, you can see it's just getting ready to be occupied. Finally, I believe we're very close on the Pleasant Street and 109, the apartment building where the old Butter Bings used to be. That's ready to be occupied. It's just up and running. I think he's got renters there. He's just waiting on final approval for his renters.
Question, Pete?
Is the increase due to sheer volume, or are rates included in that too? I mean, what are the sewer rates? Are they stable? Are they steadily increasing a little bit or a lot, or?
Yeah, so the water increases a lot. I mean, from, in July of last year, the water increase, I think it was almost 15%, because of the PFAS plants. It was finally bonded, so the whole, for wells 1 and 2. The sewer, the increase is because of what we're sending to the district. Their O&M costs have gone up, and that would equate for that.
Yeah, just to clarify, my question is on the sewer rates, which aren't set by us. I mean, the water rates, we set the water rates. But I assume Charles River Pollution Prevention District, they set their own rates. How are their rates?
So they set their rates, and it's increased because of whatever maintenance that they need to have done. There's not an exact percentage, like per gallon.
How about per year? Like, did they go up 2% a year, or less than that?
I would say that this went up, and actually had it on another piece of paper, and I'll get it back to you. It went up, I think, 6.5%.
Wow, okay.
I'll get that defined, because it's a good question.
Yeah.
And it's not.
It's a valid question.
Sewerage is getting, there's a lot to do with sewer. I mean, Charles River Pollution District, they're under the gun just like us on unfunded mandate. They're gonna have to start testing for PFAS, water that's being discharged back into the Charles River. And those costs are just gonna go back onto everybody. The Bellingham, Millis, Medway, and Franklin for that. The Stormwater Enterprise Fund, the salaries is $329,529. The expenses for that is $502,10, for a total budget of $831,739. Last year, we had a $774,329. There's an increase of $57,410. Again, that's increases for new increases for new testing that has to be done, that we're required to do. We look at, maybe I can't get too much involved in negotiation talks, but we're looking to shift a good chunk of the staff to the enterprise fund, because right now, we're outsourcing Kleinfelter to do a lot of this work. They've finally trained us on how to do this testing, and if everything goes as planned, we're hoping to do almost 99% of the testing in-house, away from them.
Gotcha. And are those numbers reflected in the budget, in the different enterprise budgets?
No, it's just in this one, because
Okay.
that's the only testing for that,
Okay.
for stormwater. So that's that. Those are the budgets. Anybody have any questions on money or anything?
So,
Yeah, go ahead. I have a few questions, but go ahead.
oh, good. You want to do the budget first? Or?
Yeah, they're on the, yeah,
Okay.
keep going, yeah.
Okay.
They're budget related, yep.
Yep,
keep going.
yep. So, accomplishments in FY '26. The town, through Chapter 90 funding and town meeting expenditures, spent $671,045. That's a long list of roads that were paved. It's never been done that much. And luckily, this year, it's gonna double the size of that, because I'll briefly talk about that at the end. The most important one is the Main Street, Medfield. You've been listening to me for how many years? Talk about, it's gonna get done, it's gonna get done, it's gonna get done. But it's just like one of those things, you keep hounding them, and you're hounding them, and you're hounding them. And they actually came in and spent and paid in excess of $1.3 million to do that, paving of those roads. And it didn't cost us nothing. And the rest of the roads are right there. And, you know, David will present to the select board shortly, because just waiting on bids to come back. We have a long list. What we have, just briefly, I know you all like numbers, we have money left over from what was appropriated in November, and a little that was left over from this. There's almost $550-something thousand left over from town meeting appropriations. There's over 900, isn't it? 900, almost, so there's like $1.3 million that we'll be able to put towards paving. Complete streets, you know, we've already signed the contract. David sent them the contract. We're gonna start with the Exchange Street intersection. Everybody's not gonna like that, but it's gonna get done.
All right.
And that's through another grant. That's not out of this. And that contract, that's gonna start, it has to be done by June 30th, or we're gonna lose over $250-something.
The project has to be done by?
Yes, June
Okay.
30th. And the sidewalks will be paved from the railroad station to the old fire station. Water, construction of the $6.3 million PFAS water treatment plant, that started. And where the picture you can see on the side of that, that's what we like to see. The walls are up, the front door, I think, is in now. Since that picture was taken, the tanks are in there. And we're getting ready to, just in time to get that up and running. Don't let anybody fool you. PFAS is not going away. The EPA is imposing much stricter restrictions on drinking water, and they're lowering the percentage from 0.04 to 0 on two. They're gonna make them testable, two different things on there. And our wells 5 and 6 and 4 are already exceeding those amounts. So the decision's gonna have to be made by the Finance Committee, the Select Board. We're gonna need another one. There's probably gonna be, another one's gonna, it's gonna have to be built. Especially with the increase of the construction that's going on in town, and mainly the down, if you take one of them offline, you know, you still need the water source, and that's how we're operating right now. That's how he's operating the system on a daily basis. If we still have 4, 5, and 6 ready to assist because well 3 is offline.
Yeah, I got a question. Yeah, go ahead. Pete first?
Are the existing and the new treatment facility capable of meeting the new standards?
Yes. I think I'm amazed at, and he'll tell you the same thing. You look at the reports that come, the water that's still coming out of the ground are still exceeding everything. The minute it goes through these, especially wells 1 and 2, because that's the only one online, it's 0. There's nothing. It's non-detect on, with 50 different things that it's cleaning the water system out. It's amazing.
And are your operating costs there in line with what you thought they would be?
So as of today, yes, they are. But we knew that eventually down the line that the charcoal in all the tanks, they're gonna have to be pulled and they have to be sent out and cleaned. So that, again, that's a talk that's gonna be talked about very shortly. I think with funding, I'm gonna tell you what the amount is because Mike made it public the other Monday night, so I can take a little credit too on the money that was
used from, we're hoping to use mitigation money that we received from one lawsuit. I think Mike said last night, Monday night, it's in excess of $1.3 million. And luckily, he just was notified, I think Monday, that the last phase of that one lawsuit, we're gonna receive, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, it was like $167,000?
Perfect.
Another $167,000 towards that. And the other paperwork that I filed over the years for the second lawsuit, we can't say that what it's gonna be, but it's gonna be in that same ballpark, if not more. We have litigation with, we've already settled with Union Street, the old Herman Shoe property.
Yep.
In excess of $350,000. They're gonna have to pay us that before they can even pull a permit on that. The only one that's still out there is GAF. They've got more money, so they're still out there testing.
Before you go on, Brett, did you have a question? You good?
Yep.
Everyone good?
I have a
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Are the PFAS requirements EPA or DEP?
Both. So it's EPA driven, and then the DEP has the right to, they can't go below it, but they can actually put stricter, you understand what I'm saying? So they're the threshold from the EPA, but the DEP can, in which they are right now. The restrictions that we're under are the Mass DEP. The EPA has not lowered, they're instituting now their final.
Right, because it doesn't seem like the EPA is right now instituting a lot of water treatment requirements or
Yeah,
anything
this is
like
one
that.
of them there. It's still.
It's still there?
Yep.
Hopefully they'll be
Yep.
gone.
Yep.
All right, so it's DEP that's really
Yes.
pushing this.
Yep.
General question, and we've talked about this over the years with the different PFAS plans. How's Millis relative to other towns? I know we were ahead of the curve before. Are people playing catch up? Are funds being diluted? What's the landscape out there look like is my question.
We're still well ahead of the curve with the 3 plants that we have up and running. Most of these communities now, they're looking at renting these frac trucks that there's not enough of them to go around. And that's what we'd be up against. If one of these wells needed to be online, you would have to go out and hire one of these trucks that would come in and treat the water through just big trailer trucks.
Like a portable system?
Yeah, so we're far ahead of, I mean, some of the communities around here, their PFAS levels aren't what ours are because of the industry that we had here. But there's a waiting list of luckily, we were lucky to get the contractor that built wells 1 and 2, he's building well 3.
Perfect, thank you.
And I think lastly for me, I think that's, yeah. Grants. So grants that we received last year is a $10,000 grant for a new compactor. If any of you use the transfer station, you know that you can see the compactor that's there we use for cardboard. I applied for another grant for the second compactor, and we received a $10,000 grant, but the only problem is these things cost $36,000. So the next grant that you see, $3,780, it's from RDP grant. It's for recycling and stuff that we fill a report out. We submit it once a year. We're able to accumulate that money year over year over year. And right now, there's almost $20,000, in that account. So when I'll file it with Dave before I leave, we should have enough money, which we receive in November, and then the select board can approve the purchase of the next compactor. And lastly is a $30,000 Mass DEP cyber security grant. And I think I did that, and there's 2 I did in the last couple of days, and we just were notified Monday that we did receive those funds, and it was approved. What the cybersecurity, I mean, if you all remember, I don't know how many have been here that long, when we instituted the SCADA system, that was over 12, 14 years ago, and it's a computer system, and none of it's been changed, and things are starting to break down, and this will help us to assist with that. And lastly, the last grant that I did not put on this, Karen Bray DiMazo, the Assistant Town Administrator, and myself, on my very last day, we got a letter from Congressman Auchincloss's office to file for something. What do you want to do? and Pete, you'll be happy with this. We submitted a grant to, for the sidewalk replacement on Village Street. And the congressman accepted it, so now he has to submit it for federal approval. It's replacing the sidewalks from the, which I've been talking about again for years, from the Medway Town Line, but this would go even extended a little bit further to Gerald Ave? To Gerald Ave, and that's way up near the sewer station near Dover Road, if you all know where that is.
50 feet from Plain Street.
Okay.
And
On 115 or Village?
It's all in Village.
All in Village.
It crosses 115.
Correct, yeah.
And this could be just like the 109, to just keep on them and keep going at it. And it would be on the even number side. The main reason for that would be there's more land on the even number side of Village Street, and it would connect to the largest development, the Charles River Estate. They have sidewalks on both sides of the streets there, which probably need to be replaced anyways, but they have sidewalks, and they would connect to that. So that's it for me, and when Dave's done, I just want to make one comment.
Sure.
If I could.
All right, we'll start off, hopefully you guys all have the paperwork here. I'm gonna start off with the container for the transfer station.
What are you referring to first, so we just get?
The transfer station building, it's a storage container.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going. We're just looking for it, that's all.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
So the price on that was $17,500 with a delivery charge of $229. That's going to replace the existing building, which has holes in the floor, and the hole underneath of it is a giant bee's hive. That's why it was closed a lot towards the end of last year. And that's about the end for that. It should last a lot longer than the building we have. It's a lot more robust.
So page 77 for people. Okay.
And then the next thing is the large item is the meter replacement.
Page 74.
Yeah, can you elaborate on that?
Yes. This is something that Jim and Treasurer's has been asking for a while now. A lot of the meters we have in town are 10 years past their replacement age, and then they also have readers, which is about 5 to 10 years past their replacement age. What we're going to replace them with is a self-contained system, which we won't have to drive around and read the meters anymore. There's going to be 3 antennas throughout the town, and everything is going to go directly to the billing office. All the meters can be read minute by minute for water usage. So if there's any complaints, they can find that out right away. There's also set points in there where if they're using too much water, it'll ring them and they can call the people, make sure it's not leaking or anything like that. There's zero usage, which sometimes is for tampering.
Is this on a house-by-house basis?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
And the new meters also are, there's no moving parts in them like the ones we have now, which if a rock or something gets stuck in it, it blows the hole in the inners apart. This is a straight tube. It's magnetically read through the cover, through the brass pipe. They're much more accurate as well.
So this 1.2 then, 1.2 million is for all
Yep.
residential meters?
All the meters
In Millis.
plus the 3 giant antennas that will be placed on both water towers and possibly the new.
To send you the
antenna built.
information?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
What's the time frame for full completion of the project?
It all depends, usually he was saying about a year and a half. It depends on if we can, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay,
I'm just letting it be known.
Okay, it depends on how because we're gonna have to shut all the water off out in the street, so it's gonna depend on how all those gate valves are, if we have to dig them up and figure out how to replace them. But their average was, he said, between a year and a half. And the price for installation is on here as well.
Go ahead,
Excuse
Joyce.
Are these meters outside, or these are the meters that are inside
basement.
people's homes?
Yeah,
So you'll have to go to each home, schedule each home?
yes.
And will you be doing it like on a street by street, or is it gonna be by appointment? Because, I mean, I know it more efficiently would be if you could do the whole street
Yeah.
from 206
Yeah.
to
Correct.
155 or whatever, and everybody's home.
Yeah.
Right.
But we know how it is, so is 1 year realistic of doing the whole town?
That's what they're saying, is because it's all gonna depend on that, and a lot of people aren't even gonna want us to let us in their house.
Right.
So,
And-
especially when they find out they're gonna have a better reading on their water
And
bill.
who will be installing these? Will it be?
The contractor will, find the installer.
Okay, so it's not going to burden the DPW. It's a
No.
separate contract that people will come. I know we've got information here, but a lot of people don't read what's going on.
And just as a non-financial note, maybe a communication schedule would be ideal to put
Yes.
something together or have the firm
Right.
put something together. Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, what happens if somebody refuses to let you in?
Yeah, ultimately, we'll have to.
Well, that's where I'm getting at, is what
Yeah.
are the costs of enforcement, and you
Yeah.
should factor that in.
They would get letters, and then it'll ultimately be a water shut off, and then.
Oh, they'll shut their water off. Okay, I was just wondering, like, do you have to pad in costs of enforcement? If
I don't think so. I
Okay.
mean, they'll probably just give so many notices, and then.
That might be an article in fiscal year 2028.
Yes.
TBD.
You know that the Eversource is also planning on doing a statewide replacement.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
First state, right, what is that?
Statewide replacement of electrical meters.
Those are all outside.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand that, but I'm just letting you know that is also happening.
Yeah.
So be sure that my point is, be sure that people know that this is water meters and not the electrical
Yeah.
meters.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of confusion with things, and I just think that so there isn't any confusion, I'm trying to help you.
Yeah,
No, we
makes sense.
appreciate
Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I think what Joyce is trying to say is if you blindside people with a bunch of changes, they react really negatively.
Yeah, sure,
And then
of
the
course.
storm,
Yeah.
then the town faces headwinds it didn't have to have if we
Yes.
had a little more EQ about how we manage things.
Right.
Thank you.
Am I right?
Yes.
So I would imagine we try
Mr.
to do
Chair.
it by section of town, and then, of course, there will be people that don't want to do it, and then we're gonna have to
Yeah.
go back and.
Mark?
So is this a requirement, or is this just to make our lives easier from your?
No,
It's a
DEP
requirement.
is requiring it, and also there was almost 1,000 reads that were all zeros this past quarter. So those reads had to be estimated, and whether they estimated a little high or a little low, it's gonna go on to the next bill as well. So people are gonna complain about these bills that are being estimated, because they could be paying more or less than.
Right.
Yeah,
So is there, sorry to interrupt, so is there liability exposure in terms of making an estimate instead of an actual read?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so. I honestly don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah.
There has been several complaints on some of the reads that were estimated for multiple quarters because it just got out of control. And
Yeah.
it ended up being a little high, so.
I know it's definitely helpful from an accuracy perspective. I just see a lot of backlash that's going
Oh, there will
to
be.
come your way, especially when there's a water ban.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is going to be used with a certain water threshold in mind, where if you have, X amount of gallons over, well, this is all,
No, there's no, there's no banning or telling you can't use less water or anything like that. There's no restrictions at all. It'll just be,
Just more
Yeah.
accurate.
yeah, more accurate. It's just to get what's going through their home.
Pete, question?
Thanks, and maybe this will go to Eric, or anybody really, what is the estimated operational cost savings and what is the payback?
I don't know if I have all that data. With the capital planning committee, when we looked at it, we basically looked at it and said the water department's unable to do their jobs effectively right now, just with the estimates. You know, you with 1,000 meters returning zero, you basically don't know how much water a third of the town is using.
So maybe I could quickly answer
Yeah.
that. So I mean, this is, replacement of meters is by the DEP regulation is every 15 years. I can tell you the outside reading device that I have in my house has been there for 30 years. And they're only supposed to last for 5 years. So that's why I'm dreading them coming in to replace my meter. It's the same meter that I've had, I've lived in the house for 25 years. Probably as most of you, the same.
Mine's
Yeah.
been since 1964.
And
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
the reason I ask is actually because the capital planning committee rates these projects. One of the facets that they evaluate is cost savings to the budgetary impact. And this rated very high, so I assumed that in addition to some of the other advantages of doing this, that there was a cost savings.
Yeah.
And making a capital outlay should always have some sort of payback calculation. Is it 7 years? I mean, that, it's not, but it should, you know, I'm just curious as to what it is. And I get it's mandated. I'm not trying to push back. I just think we ought to know these things.
so the best way to answer that would be is the accuracy that David just stated. There's 1,000 meters that read inaccurately. And what that means is that when the final bill goes out, when we finally get that final accurate read, you know, the homeowner is paying, you know, double, triple what they think that what they've been paying for the past 3 months. The payback for that is the constant need of a salaried employee going to the home several times to get that manual read. If you look at the capital outlay, I believe when we first proposed this, it was upwards of $3 to $5 million that was in the capital planning committee, and it's always been on that list. So this was, you know, a far lower rate, and I believe that's when when we weren't asked that for this time. It was done originally when the capital planning committee first was put together. So those amounts were there. So it's there somewhere. It is, I don't know who was, I think you were on the board when it was first done. So, you know, that number is there, and there's definitely a payback. There has to be.
Right,
Because
correct.
when somebody comes in, I always tell them, you know, I want to change my meter. Watch what you're looking for, because, you know, a 25-year-old meter, like anything, is not reading as accurately as a brand-new one should be.
Yeah, and if there's any information that we can gather as the project rolls on, that'd be great to
Yeah.
find out that info, or confirm it.
Cost too for the quarterly reads, that we won't have to send anybody out to do these quarterly reads
Yeah.
anymore. It goes directly to the office. Any final reads that come up for home sales, directly to the office. And a lot of complaints where they're asking us to just drive by and make sure that the homeowner's saying, my bill is high. Can you make sure there's no leak? So we do another read. And the
Yeah.
guys do a lot of driving around just doing that weekly.
Yeah. Last question?
Yeah, so I think the point is, everybody's gonna have the same meter. It's all gonna be read accurately, so it's parity. Everybody's on the same parity in terms of water use, or in terms of recognizing the water use. Second, you are gonna save with employees having to go out there, because it's all gonna be read electronically without having a human out there. So there is a payback, whether that's 7 years or 10 years, but there is going to be a payback. And you know, maintenance of any of that equipment that you guys do right now, the outside readers you install.
Yes.
And you have to maintain those, so those won't be done anymore, because you're not gonna have those anymore. So I think looking at all of it, and, you know, in terms of everybody being fairly, you know, regulated now, their water fairly read, and the fact that we're saving on employees having to go out there for various things, that's not a bad payback.
Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah. Is there a contingency on this project for the gate valve replacements if we need to?
No,
Like, are we going to be surprised?
No, it's almost a guarantee. There's gonna be some, because even now we go, if we have a water shut off or something, that we're there and we have to dig it up.
Okay.
In emergency. And with the Vector, it makes it much easier. We just suck up around the gate valve. We don't have to bring out the machine and you call dig safe or anything, because there's no digging. We just Vector it down to the pipe, pull it and shut it off.
Okay. And then considering the cybersecurity, there's the grant that came in. Larger question here is just around overall management. Is there a super user within the department that knows what they need to do and knows, to manage it appropriately?
Yes. There's 5 people on call. They're all trained on SCADA system and cybersecurity. They're also creating an operations manual for once they do this. It's gonna, everybody's gonna do the same process of everything. And of course, Jim Donovan is involved in a lot of the cybersecurity as well.
Thanks.
All good? All good?
Thank you very much.
So in closing, quickly, probably because the last time I'll be sitting in this chair, I want to thank everybody on this board. I've probably been doing this longer than anybody here. I've been doing this for 20 years, so that means 40 times I've come in front of this board. I want to thank the town administrator for giving me the opportunity to stay and mentor David a couple of days a week. I just want to let you know, when I came here, Deirdre Gilmore was here. She was here 6 months prior to when I came here. And at that time, both of us we were both given the keys. Here, go, do what you can.
Yeah.
And there was no training. Deirdre over the years has, set up the office to where it is today. And we're very functional. In our 20 years, and I say our 20 years, meaning her and I, we were never once fined by the Mass DEP because of our accuracy in what we reported on a daily, monthly, yearly basis. So I want to give her a shout out. I haven't been able to give that at the select board because of the personalities that are there. So I'd like to take this opportunity. Again, thank you all. We've had our differences. I mean, there's a lot of money, but a lot of good things have got done from the DPW coming to this table. Equipment-wise, every piece of equipment that you approved at town meeting and all, it's useful and it's been put to use. So I want to thank you. Thanks.
And just a moment, appreciate you for all your years of service. I know, to your point, that there's been some difficult topics, but when I say Jim McKay, I think PFAS. So you've done a lot for this town, and you've provided a lot of great drinking water for the residents of Millis, and it's nice to be at the forefront of that, where other towns are probably looking to Millis in terms of what we did right. So I appreciate that, and Dave, you'll be on your own next round, so get ready. But with that said, then Joyce, if you have a word, so who are the new players in the DPW office? I know you have a few people retired, right?
Yeah.
So give us just a quick update. Yeah, I know.
So Amanda Hamlin, she's the
We're calling her Amanda 2 just because we have Amanda 1 over here. Okay.
She's operations
All right,
manager.
so she's good.
Yeah, she's doing great. She came from Dudley doing some of this work.
Yeah.
She's new to all the enterprise stuff, but she's super helpful. Great
And
person. And then-
John Williams retired?
Yes.
And who, did someone take his?
Teresa
Teresa?
Perez is
Okay, I don't know
replacing her. She worked in the town hall before. In the-
Oh, okay. I think I do know her, actually, yeah. Joyce, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just, thank you, Jim. I want to thank you for all the hard work you've done, because you have had, I've known you probably as many years as you've been on, not in this board, and Deidre. And I never once felt that if I was going to go to your office and speak to either you or Deidre, that I wasn't going to get the answer. And it might have not been an answer I wanted to hear, but it was an answer, and it was always right. And if you or she did not know, you were never afraid to say, I don't have that information, but I will get it to you, and follow through. And you're both gonna be missed. But Dave, I know you're a great guy too, because I know you. And you're gonna do a superb job.
Thank you very much.
But you got some big shoes to
absolutely,
fill.
yeah.
But he was fortunate to have you as his, and it is too bad that he says he doesn't have a Dave, you don't have a Dave. But, yeah.
But he does. And that's.
But you do have a really good crew.
Perfect. Thank you both
Okay,
for
great.
tonight
Thank you.
and all the
From
information.
all of us, thank you, Jim, really.
Yeah.
You've done a great
Have
job.
a good night.
Really appreciate it.
All right, moving along on the agenda here, slightly ahead.
Mr. Mike?
Hey, folks. Review of warrant articles. I know. Let's hope both those work.
Brought some documents for you this evening.
Ooh,
This is just an updated draft annual town meeting warrant. It might be slightly more advanced than the one you received.
okay,
So I would use this one in our discussion this evening.
fair enough.
It's got a few more pieces of information.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. A lot of highlight in here.
Yes, well, the highlighting is basically areas I want to, that are fairly new.
All
I want
right.
to touch upon, so it helps guide you through this tour through the updated warrant.
We will take your lead, so when you're ready, feel
All
free.
right. Thank you. So we'll take these one at a time, and I've asked Jody to fill in any gaps that may occur during our journey here. So Article 1, we had mentioned that we did not have any unpaid bills, so we weren't sure if we were going to need that article, and ultimately, we do not have any unpaid bills. So I've recommended to the Select Board that that article be removed, and they did remove that article Monday evening. But we do have another article we replaced it with. There's an article in there to transfer $70,000 from Article 3 of the operating budget of fiscal year '26 back to the ambulance fund. That money was not needed to be utilized this year. We're putting it back in the fund so it's available for use in fiscal year '27. So it's really just a transfer. The chief is aware of it, and it's just an accounting thing
Yep.
we have to do.
Understood.
Just a
Quick question, Brent?
Brief question. Does that raise the total amount from the, for FY '27 by 70,000, or is that, okay,
That'll raise the available funds.
available
in the
funding, thank
ambulance
you.
revolving fund.
Okay.
Yes.
Correct, yep.
I don't have any additional information for you. Well, actually, I'll take that back. We will have some information for you that we'll be sending out by the end of this week.
Regarding Article 1?
Regarding, no, Articles 2, 3,
Oh.
4, 5.
Yep.
6.
Yep.
All the budget articles. We will be going over the overview of the budget in a summary fashion this evening. I do believe you received some information about that in your packet that you received by email, hopefully. And we'll review that this evening. So I'm going to jump, because of that, I'm going to jump up to Article, unless there's any questions right now on those first 7, I'm going to jump up to Article 8, which is the capital article.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Joyce.
I do have one question. I'm looking at the authorization of the revolving funds, and I noticed that the COA Transportation Fund is at 7,500 versus their request of being reimbursed the $10,000 that they gave up before.
Hold on one
Yeah.
second.
Sure.
Actually, that is, I think that's a slightly different item. Are you talking about the transportation funds for the COA?
Yes.
Yes, so last year, in their budget, they utilized, they did utilize transportation funds, those to help with their transportation system from that revolving account. We're actually putting those funds back in the general fund budget for them.
Right, but
So-
I'm seeing that it's
Yeah.
75 rather than the 10,000 that was taken from them.
Well,
These are
this are
spending limits for the
authorizations.
revolving funds. Those are just spending limit thresholds.
Yeah, so this isn't actually the appropriation of any fund.
Okay.
We've actually increased that, I think it
Right.
was 5,000.
Right.
Oh, okay,
So
okay,
they've
so
asked
this
that
is
for to
separate
be
from- okay,
increased to
thank
70,
you.
to 7,500, which is what's being done here. And they asked for an increase in the COA Program Services Fund up to 30,000, which is also in here. That's why those two items are highlighted.
Thank
in
you.
your,
I just
your-
wanted to clarify that transportation, because I know at one time,
Right.
you know, that they had,
Right, driver wages. Yeah,
Right.
We'll get to that too.
thanks.
So,
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Pete.
Sorry to interrupt you. Why was the $70,000 not expended or needed in '26?
best to explain that.
So we transferred from available funds roughly 955,000 last year from ambulance revolving fund receipts into the operating budget. And when we reviewed staffing levels, we transferred $70,000 too much. So it really doesn't impact the budget necessarily, but we want those funds to not flow through the budget cycle into free cash, being unexpended. We want them to go back into the revolving fund for reappropriation.
Do you know that that adjustment has been made in '27?
Absolutely, yes.
All right, so Article 8, I just wanted to highlight there that the second item, which you just talked about at length, which is the meter replacement program for the water and sewer enterprise. If you look below to Article 9, you see there's a borrowing authorization there, and that is going to be the means by which the funding for that project will be gained, and the payments on that bond will be made from the water and sewer enterprise funds at a 50-50 match, because they're both, that's used to measure both of those services. So I didn't know if there was any questions on that, but that's basically, it's an extra article, but it's the required borrowing authorization. We need a 2/3 majority to be able to.
So Article 9 needs to pass in order to have it listed in Article 8?
Yes, Article 8 is there because, we list all the
Understood.
capital that is
Yeah, yeah.
recommended. But so you'll see when we get to the motions, you'll see that, that the funding for Article 8 only, a much smaller portion of that will actually be funded by the general fund. And the majority of that will be funded through water and sewer and stormwater funds.
I'm with you,
So if 9 doesn't pass?
If 9 doesn't pass, then we have a problem moving forward with the meter replacement program.
Should Article 9 be Article 8 and Article 8 be Article 9?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it matters, ultimately. I mean, obviously, because even if it's improved in Article 8,
Yeah.
the only way we could fund that is if they had, retained earnings that could, and they don't have the
Right.
level of retained earnings that I think we'd feel safe in trying to utilize for that.
Gotcha,
So Mike,
good.
if that was the case, then would you just split it up into years, break it up into 5 different budget cycles?
I'm not sure if we would definitely go back and take a look at it. I mean, if there was that much resistance to it at town meeting or opposition, we would go back and look at other ways of moving this forward that might be more palatable to the public. But this is really an efficiency and an accuracy measure. The only reason I would, and it is required by DEP to move forward with this, because it's the only way to accurately measure without extraordinary means of sending folks, as was mentioned by the director, sending folks out into those 1,000 homes, into the basements to check their meters, which we don't want to do. So we're
Yeah.
certainly hoping that this gets approved. And all you're doing is, if people are going to get some bad news by having an accurate reading, it's just going to make it worse a year or 2 or 3 down the road.
Okay.
I really think this should move forward.
Pete, question?
Yes. Do you know now, or will you present to us later, the status of the Water Enterprise Fund in terms of what the borrowing does to their reserves and what the borrowing would do to water rates?
Certainly, we will look at that. We do work with an outside advisor that helps with rate calculations. They do come in once a year and meet with the select board to have those discussions, as the water and sewer commissioners. We wouldn't know the exact amount until we knew the interest rate of the bond and so forth, but we could certainly get some estimates, I would think, on the cost, based on unit of usage of water.
It's kind of a two-part answer too, if I may. Like Mike had mentioned, once we understand the scope of the borrowing, if it is truly, the 1.286, and what that, very much like any borrowing that we do, what are the cash flow needs with regards to that borrowing? And are we borrowing all at once? Are we borrowing this in phases based on the rollout? And essentially, whatever that payment is will go into the operating budget for that enterprise fund and become part of the overall revenue and expenditure picture for both water and sewer. Then beyond that, when we do rate setting and we have that process, certainly any outstanding liabilities like borrowing as part of our overall budget will be looked at. Mike also made some mention about retained earnings. Much like anything else, the rate setting process looks at what we have on reserves. There are targeted reserves for enterprise funds as there are for general funds. And so that was why there was not necessarily an appetite to tap into retained earnings for this particular project, because it would kind of drop us below a threshold we've been trying to get at for the last few years. And to answer that question, yes, it would affect the rate setting process if our reserves were not where they needed to be. They would factor in some additional cost buffers, if you will, and that would affect, rate setting.
I think it is this committee's responsibility to know those numbers, and I think it would be unwise to go to town meeting not having those numbers and expect to get approval, voter approval for Article 9.
All right, we can certainly take a look at that and get some estimates of what the
Estimates are
average
fine.
ratepayer would be paying. If there are any more questions on that,
continue.
I was going to actually jump up to Article 15. If there's any questions on the articles in between, I'd be happy to answer any of those. I don't think there's been any real changes to those.
Okay. The pilot agreement?
Yes.
Is what you want to focus on?
As I mentioned last time we discussed this has to do with a solar project at 1073 Main Street. Being a electricity power generating facility, a very common way of assessing the taxes there is through a pilot agreement. We're still working out the final language with town council. I would expect that to have that final language by tomorrow. I was hoping to have it today, but I certainly will have it tomorrow. And just want to make clear, again, this isn't like a, sometimes a pilot is seen as, oh, we're going to pay, 20% or 30% of what the taxes would be. The Department of Revenue requires us to charge the full fair tax liability to these generating facilities. So I just want to make sure everyone knows this is not a tax break for them. This is just a different way of assessing their tax responsibility to the town. It provides, the benefit is it provides stability to both the company putting in these solar panels and stability for the town. And it also eliminates the chance for any appeals or anything like that with the state appellate board having to do with these types of facilities. So we'll have a lot more information, for your next meeting. We'll certainly have the full pilot agreement and be able to answer any questions about that.
So Article 15 is to either move forward or not for the solar panels?
Well, the solar panels are going in either way.
Yeah.
If the town chooses not to do a pilot,
Yeah.
then we.
So pilot means payment in lieu of taxes.
That's correct.
Okay.
So if the town chooses not to go that path, then, there's a more traditional path to go, and there are pros and cons to each. But this is a very common path to take with any power generating facilities.
So it's just a tax,
It's a different way
method.
of taxing. But again, the Department of Revenue reviews
The
these
same
agreements.
tax, just done a different way.
Yeah, and the Department of Revenue has to certify that they're paying their full fair taxes. So-
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Outside of extending the name of the article, is there a reason not to have payment in lieu of taxes, and then in parentheses, pilot when the language is
Yes,
worked
when the
out.
language goes in, I will
okay,
add that out.
great.
That'd be
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, sometimes I forget that these terms aren't broadly known since
Yeah.
I've been living them for 25,
Do you
30
know,
years.
maybe Amanda, I wonder if it's in our municipal glossary term too?
It should be in your glossary. If
We'll
it
take a
is,
look.
You should add it. I
Okay.
recommend it.
Yeah. Okay.
The next article is Article 17, that has been updated. That is a zoning article, and I will not speak in detail to this article. I know the planning board has been working on this extensively. If you have any questions regarding this, I would probably recommend you ask a representative of the planning board come to your meeting next week. But I know they've been working on this because these are issues that have been going on across the state with these new types of facilities, the battery energy storage system. I think the town of Medway just installed a very large battery system, a private developer has. And of course, data storage centers are popping up all over the place. So this is really just trying to stay ahead of the curve of the new types of developments that are going in the commercial sector, so.
I'm going by email memory here. I think they had a meeting
Last night.
last night.
That's why I just got this morning.
Gotcha. And we were gonna have that information sent along to us, so.
But this is the article I received from Camille.
Yeah.
Again, this is what as far as I know, this is what you should see for the final article. But again, if you want some more some background information detail, I would recommend you ask, a representative of the planning board to speak to it.
I'm just reading an email now. I think Camille's gonna provide information from their meeting last night to us.
Yeah,
Go
if I
ahead, Mike.
could say, this is, do you think pilot's bad? I mean, a tier 1 BESS installation, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
So we definitely need some explanation of this. And it would be helpful for us, obviously, because if we have to make a recommendation in this article, we'd be somewhat incumbent on giving an explanation that the population could understand based on our recommendation. So, yeah, I think we need that.
I've reached out to Rich before. Let's see what Camille has to offer, and then if not, maybe we could have Nicole Riley or someone come in next week.
Yeah, I mean, either Rich, Nicole, or
Yeah,
Jim
or
McKay.
someone.
I think they'll all probably be pretty knowledgeable on
Yep.
this. So the next article is Article 18. I touched upon this article at your last meeting. And I think Mr. McKay discussed this briefly
He did.
during their presentation. We currently have $1,168,158.69 as part of a class action settlement that we received. And we are receiving additional funds over time. But this is what we have available to set up within a PFAS settlement fund account.
And that 1.1's for Millis, that's the Millis share of it?
Yes.
Okay, yep,
That's what we've accumulated
Yeah, so
since we
far.
started the
gotcha.
settlements, yeah.
Yep,
So these would be applied against the PFAS projects to lessen the burden and pay the bonds and lessen the burden on the ratepayers.
sounds good. Pete, question?
Yes, when you say pay for the projects, do you mean existing projects, future projects, or either?
Probably I don't know if it could be either, but certainly the future one. Certainly the one that's getting built now. We haven't bonded for most of that. This might allow us to not have to bond
We
as
talked,
much of that
yeah,
project.
we talked a bit too about charcoal filter replacements and resin renewals and things like that. So essentially, the DOR requires a particular record keeping for these settlement funds, and we chose a special revenue fund to put them in. We now need to appropriate those funds from the special revenue fund into the capital project. The capital project that we have set up is for PFAS remediation. So whatever that looks like, if that becomes, again, maintenance or towards new efforts, either is appropriate.
Perhaps for discussion on another day,
Mhm.
is that I would be hesitant to use one-time funds for what appears to be operating costs, like charcoal funds that are gonna be periodic. Like marijuana, impact funds type of thing, where you have them and then you don't. just assume budget for the charcoal costs and
Right.
keep the lending down or keep the burden on the ratepayers for utilities.
Yep, makes sense.
So any other questions on Article 18? Then we have Article 19. This is a vote to rescind the borrowing authorization for previously approved borrowing in the amount of $206,021 for the DeAngelis Well Project for Wells Number 2. So this will, these are funds that we did not need to borrow for, so we came in under budget ultimately. So this would rescind that borrowing authorization, which our auditors like very much.
Yeah.
And,
It's essentially closing out the project, a little housekeeping at the end, rescind the borrowing, more accurately describe our current outstanding debt as it relates to all of our debt borrowing capacity. So this really just closes out the project.
Makes sense.
And the last item I want to specifically take up here is Article 22. This has to do with establishing a compensated balances account. These exist in many communities in the Commonwealth. It actually existed in pretty much every town I had worked in before. We just haven't had one here. We kind of just did a pay-as-you-go for these types of things. What a compensated balances account is, it pays for any liabilities having to do with employees of the town when they retire, and there's any, there's vacation, there's a sick leave buyout, there's anything like that. It creates an account that's there, and you don't have to backfill with a reserve fund transfer or try to find another account to fill that in. These are one-time things when someone retires, and they have accumulated vacation that has to be paid out, as well as, we do have some limited sick leave provisions. When someone retires, they can get up to like $2,500 or something, if they have the requisite sick leave still on the books.
Accrued, unused.
Accrued and unused. So this would set up an account that would basically just be there and would cover those. And I think, and we'll get to the amounts in these articles when we touch upon the overall budget. Jody did put together a list of the proposed funds to be put in these articles.
So this would be a dollar value versus the actual setting up the account, or both, for Article 22?
It would basically be both.
Okay,
Setting
so
up
set up
the
an account
fund.
and funding
Yeah.
it
Yep.
for
Yeah.
X dollars?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Pete?
Where is the money coming from? Is it
It'd be for free cash.
free cash? Okay.
So that's the last thing I have specifically on the warrant. So essentially, the warrant is completed with the exception of Article 15. And again, I expect to be able to get that out to you by the end of this week, the language for that.
That would be great.
So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Jody for a little change of gears. We're going to look at the budget, overall budget process we've been going through and where things stand. Jody put together a kind of budget summary document for us to review this evening. We did go through this with the select board on Monday night, and it kind of goes through the big picture. So I'll let Jody begin on that.
Fantastic. Go ahead, Jody.
So the document we're referring to starts with this page, which is essentially the budget summary. Again, the budget process from start to finish is very iterative. We get new information, new inputs. We continue to evolve it until we get to a place where we're pretty locked on our numbers. So this is the discussion this evening is to give you all a 100,000-foot view of the budget, what we're recommending for an overall budget number. We'll get into the details of year-over-year numbers and that sort of thing. But big picture, we're going to talk about a recommended or proposed budget number of $48,200,583 for this year's budget. We're looking at a 3.5% increase on the town services, as well as a 3.5% increase to the school. And a non-discretionary budget amount that you see there really represents our shared costs. So these are employee benefits, health insurance, retirement, et cetera. In addition, some of our general insurances, human resources, the school resource officer, those dollars don't count within the 3.5% increase in the rest of the budget. So it's sort of a shared expense. It does grow, over time, like everything else, but it's isolated from exclusive cost relative to the school or cost relative to the town. When we talk a little bit about this year, we'll talk about budget drivers. Some of the budget drivers, as I will mention, really point to structural forces that are pushing expenditures up or constraining revenues. We talked a little bit about this in the first paragraph. I don't know who has had a chance to read it yet, but we'll kind of go through it high level. On the revenue side of things, you know that we're restricted by Proposition 2.5 with an annual new growth amount. Our new growth this year is on sort of the latter end of the bell curve until we pick up with some new construction projects. But right now, our new growth, we're estimating at about $350,000. In years past, that we've realized new growth at our peak in the $1 million mark range. Last year, we estimated about $600,000 in new growth, and we came short about $92,000, so we're around $500,000 in new growth. This year, we're projected at around $175,000 in actual pipeline valuation that we know is happening. This doesn't count anything that may come up between, now and the end of next year, which is why we were comfortable pushing that mark up a little bit, but not too high. Again, all budget drivers that restrict our ability to fund, that restrict our ability to have, revenue generating sources. We are also limited by, to keep up with inflation due to this. And we really have a lack of diversification when it comes to our revenue tax base within the levy. Right now, the town of Millis is about 92.85% residential, 7.15% commercial, industrial, or personal property. So really, all of this pressure is directed towards the local residents and the tax base that's primarily the burden of the residents.
And if I may,
Yeah.
just to add on to that, and don't want to sound like a broken record, but as those of you who've been on the committee for any length of time, the state aid has been flat for a long time.
Right.
With the exception of COVID monies that came through for several years, we did not have really any net increase in state aid. You do hear in the press, they're looking at giving an extra $150 per student or $75 per student. That is pretty much all eaten up by the cherry sheet charges that come against the town. Like last year, I think it was either.
We've had pretty flat state aid for the
basically a
past
zero.
8 years,
Yeah.
literally. So you'll see that state aid, if you look at one budget document, if anyone went to the DLS website and said, what's our cherry sheet estimates for this year, you'll see that it went up, but you also have to look at that with the cherry sheet charges because they also went up. So the net increase over under was under 1%, it was 0.82%. And again, that's just the first budget recommendation. So again, to Mike's point, we're looking at very stagnant growth when it comes to state aid, which is our second main, I shouldn't say main revenue source, but another revenue source. And then we have volatility of local receipts. Local receipts are anything from building permits to meals tax to our people buying cars. A lot of these receipts are market-driven and economic factors weigh in to how many people are dining out and how many people are buying cars and building, right? So all of these factors are very dependent and aren't steady when it comes to estimating or projecting, into the future, because those economic conditions really have an impact on that. Go ahead.
I think, with respect to one of the projects that was discussed tonight, a $48 million apartment complex, that's a sizable chunk of new growth. Our new growth is below 1% of our total budget. So when we look at these types of projects, we have to look at them from the standpoint of producing revenue for the town, and not necessarily looking at them simply like, well, that's going to be a big building, and I don't know if I like the look of that. If we like the look of our budget, and only producing
Right.
less than 1% new growth, that's not very attractive for
Right.
the taxpayers right now. So
Yeah,
when we
and
do
I-
look at these projects, we should think of them as tax revenue producers.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we have an opportunity because of our jobs to kind of look at the big revenue picture and seeing where the stresses are. And, you know, Jody and I have talked about it. I think it's amazing that this community has managed to provide fairly high level of services without any sizable operational override in almost 20 years. And a large part of that is because of the new growth that has occurred in the community. We are one of the fastest, you know, growing small communities in Massachusetts. And, you know, the developments such as the Glen and other areas have really allowed the town to continue forward, still provide, you know, all the basic services at a good level without an override. Now, I can't say that's going to be able to be possible in the long term, but it is something that the town has benefited from because we do not benefit from a large commercial tax base. So, so it's really the residential growth that has carried the town, certainly for the last, you know, 7 to 10 years. We're, as Jody had mentioned, we're sort of at the low end of the bell curve right now with the new growth. There are a lot of building developments, you know, on the horizon. We don't know what the world will bring for world news, for the economy, but if those projects do, you know, come to fruition, there will be additional helpful new growth down the road. And understanding that also with that new growth does drive the need for some additional services, public safety, schools. But so we originally were hoping to be able to reach for a 4% increase in municipal and schools to be able to fund, you know, some of the, you know, desperately needed positions. The school was trying to add back some positions from the cut a few years ago. As you know, the police and fire departments have been really actively seeking some relief on the stresses of their departments. We were able to do a few minor things in this budget, and we'll get to that, but I think the thing people have to realize too is as they see the tax bills go up, and I understand the frustration, they say, my tax bill's going up by this amount, where's all the money going? Well, when we have inflation from 3 to 5 to 6%, and the state aid is level and our new growth is flat, it's the only place that we're able to, you know, keep up with that inflation is by, you know, the residential taxes. So that is the frustration. We'll continue to battle that battle moving forward to try to find any other sources of revenue for the town. You know, recurring.
Yes.
And we're always seeking grants. I know that was discussed earlier
Yep.
today. We're always seeking grants, and we're not always successful, but we're always seeking them. And because doing something like the sidewalk project on Village Street is just not something that we feel we could easily just take to the taxpayers and say, we want a debt exclusion for that.
Right.
We realize the pressure's there, so we apply for that federal grant and we give it our best shot.
Yeah.
And hopefully, once in a while, we score, like we did with the federal grant for the PFAS plant. That was a big victory for the town, so.
Pete, question?
Yes, please. Thank you. Where does the authority to set the new growth number or estimate that into the budget reside?
That's ultimately with the select board.
That's what I thought.
It is based on the recommendation of the principal assessor.
And I assume, because I've witnessed it, I've assumed that there was a healthy discussion on that, which included you, Jody. And how would you characterize that new growth number as aggressive, conservative, middle of the road? And how do you, what's your opinion on it?
So my opinion on it is that it's middle of the road. I think that, you know, one misnomer about new growth is that you see a building go up and you get $100,000 in new tax revenue, when that's not necessarily what happens. This town does a really good job of assessing new sales data every single year, and does reevaluations every single year. We're required by state mandate to do a cyclical inspection every 5 years to ensure that our evaluations are appropriate. That being said, part of that is we go out and capture new growth as soon as we can. So if you see a lot getting cleared and then you see a foundation going up, our assessor is on site and capturing whatever new growth we can from that project at its beginnings. There are a lot of times, like the project that's on the corner of 109 and I forget the street.
Pleasant?
But looks like that it's been up for a while, and is it occupied yet? And it's still not occupied. Rest assured, we've captured every bit of new growth that we could from that particular building. So you won't see the pops and the swings of all of a sudden we have $500,000 more in new growth unless we have a huge project. The Glen is a great example of that, but we captured that growth over time. That being said, we have to be careful about how much we reasonably predict in new growth. And if you look statistically, we had about a 33% increase in our town's overall valuation between 22 and 23. A lot of that is relative to the Glen. But if you look at it on a bell curve, our new growth sort of peaked in 2022 and has tapered down. And I predict we're at sort of this end of the bell curve. So short of getting, other major projects in town, that growth is going to be, at best around the $300,000 to $400,000 mark. So for budgeting purposes, again, we went a little aggressive last year. The select board had made that recommendation just based on all the discussions, and we were just short. We were short about $92,000. So it's just going to get tighter and tighter as we move ahead. So I feel very comfortable at 350 at this point. Considering where, the rest of our revenues are with local receipts and state aid being flat and that sort of thing. I'd hate to over-project in a way that then we have to pay for on the back end.
Thank you.
Sure.
Just to touch upon, still on the first sheet on the expenditures, just want to mention that, the health insurance costs, we've been keeping a good eye on that. As you know, we've been a member of the GIC, the Group Insurance Commission, since 2013. We were one of the charter municipalities that joined that when it first became possible for municipalities to join the state insurance group. They have been a fairly stable, comparatively, a stable platform financially. Last year we had quite a bit of an increase. What was it, around 10%, 11%?
Yes, we had double digits last year.
But other towns had 15, 17% in their private
20.
market accounts. This year, they're expecting between just over 7 to 8% increase. I'm hearing stories of other communities anywhere from, that aren't with the GIC, anywhere from 10 to 20%. We don't see ourselves leaving that anytime soon just because of that. They provide that stability. We did have the benefit of having a reduction at Tri-County. The students, that's helped considerably for our projections for next year for costs, as well as the fact is last year our pension assessment from Norfolk County went up about 11%, which was gigantic. This year it's actually going down by about 2%, I think, which is unusual, but that's partially a feature of they've changed their policy this year. And I give Jody a lot of credit because she went to several of the meetings at Norfolk County with other finance directors and some town administrators, and they were basically arguing to the county commissioners that they should not push that funding schedule. They were trying to get the whole system paid off by 2032.
Yep.
And they pushed that out a few years.
The mandate was 2040.
Yeah.
They pushed it in.
They pushed it
which-
into 2032,
Right.
not taking into account how that was going to affect the local communities and their ability to fund their budgets. But they were convinced to loosen that a little bit, which we were one of the towns that had the biggest hit last year at 11%. And because of that, we actually have an unusual reduction of 2% in our assessment. So there was a couple of good things that happened. Those are probably the highlights of the
Right.
good things for our budget pressures for FY27.
So again, just to kind of speak to some of the structural pressures, again, that Mike just mentioned, rising employee benefit cost, on the school side, special education, funding and spending, collective bargaining, wage growth, those types of things. Why does this all matter? Well, it matters because we're continuing to see the pressures on both sides, right? So we have the rising costs on the expenditure side. Our You know, lack of diversification, like I said, on our revenue base, largely having our levy being placed mostly on the residential burden. So it'll continue to pose ongoing, you know, challenges that we'll have to mitigate year to year. If you flip to the next page, we talked about some of these highlights, so I won't belabor them. But we did, when we approached the FY27 budget, for those of you that might be new to this particular process, we reach out to all of our department heads to get a sense of what their needs are for the upcoming budget cycle. We had a challenge this year of, you know, looking at about $280,000 worth of services that were provided through HCA funds over the past 6 to 8 years. And also looking at considering about $558,000 of above-level service requests to add to the budget. And again, this is just on the town side, so this is within that 3.5% cap, if you will. So we had our work cut out for us. A couple things working in our favor is that our debt and interest payments did go down. Some of that long-term borrowing, the payments are being reduced to a savings there. Tri-county assessment, general insurance premiums were very manageable this year at about 1%. That was due to some of our premiums had decreased, but we captured some of that savings along the way and left a little space in our budget for any mid-cycle premiums that are typically added. If there's a new vehicle and we have to add a premium to it, it leaves space for that. And then again, manageable increases to employee benefit expenses as a whole. We took our major hit last year when it came to, you know, actual benefits, health insurance benefits. We had a little bit different pension assessment this year, so that sort of gets us to a net 3% increase as opposed to some of those double digits we were facing last year. As a result of all of our work on this, we have been able to accommodate some of the above-level service requests and roll in some of the HCA-funded requests. Those are listed out that I'll run through real quick. We had a social worker for the town of Millis that was an entire support for the entire community. I know that the school really appreciated that support in the system this year, as well as the police department relied on those services pretty heavily. So we were happy to get that back in.
And that's at the $35,000 level, which is the same as where it's currently being funded at through the HCA. So this has
Correct.
now been rolled over to the general fund budget.
Correct. The library had previously had nights and weekends within their offering, and we were able to partially fund that at about half for this year. Police, we were able to use the remaining $104,083.91 approximately in the budget for the school resource officer. This is the absolute last money available on the HCA funding side.
We're closing out the account.
It's closing out, this is it. So that would be a consideration for next year. We'll have to bear that in mind, that that'll be something that we'll need to, you know, to talk about next year. At this time, marijuana stipends and training was funded previously through HCA funds. We were able to provide the same level of training as the police department was accustomed to through rolling in that into the budget, as well as funding the contractual stipends. Recreation has a 4-week inclusive camp that they run each year, so we were able to fund that, wages as well as a little bit additional for expenses. That program is self-supporting, so the revenue that, or the expenses associated with the revenue generation, we're actually in the positive on that particular program. We'll take a look at that and structurally how we look at the recreation's budget going forward. That'll be something that we work on for next year. And finally, the school was able to roll in the SEL para that previously was funded through HCA. So a win in my book for all of those things. In addition, like Mike said, the police department has been needing some relief on the staffing side for quite some time now, and we were able to add both a lieutenant promotion as well as 1 full-time officer to the police force for the upcoming budget cycle.
Yeah, we had some discussions with the chief. I know the chief had presented his concerns. One of the primary concerns the chief had was his midnight shift. He only had 2 officers on a number of shifts. This additional full-time officer will allow the addition of that 3rd officer for that midnight shift. So that was considered the biggest safety concern. And the I think he had also mentioned that we're the only town in the whole region that doesn't have any staff member in between the chief and the sergeants. This would basically elevate one of the sergeants to lieutenant.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
this
go
is
ahead.
just net one then, yes? Or is
Yeah,
it-
Correct.
One new and funding for a promoted position.
Yeah.
Got it, thank you.
Correct. Yep.
So that was really the largest cost item we were able to include within the municipal 3.5% cap. We were able to give some to the conservation. They had looked for several years, they've been seeking a part-time conservation agent. We were able to fund in a 4-hour per week, which is not a lot, but at least it gets the position started. It allows to have someone on call, come in for occasional meetings and help out with some of the trickier issues the Conservation Commission deals with. And we hope to build upon that in the following years, to expand upon that. The Council on Aging, it shows the driver wages. It really isn't an expansion of the department. Last year, they helped fund that by using some of their revolving account, more than they usually use. They're not able to continue that, so it's rolling back into the general fund, from the general fund. So it's really not a new service, but it's just the funding has shifted on that, so we were able to do that. And of course, the unfortunate items below, we were not able at this time to include in the budget these requests. The IT director had asked to try to move ahead with the process of having cloud services for the police department. We're probably going to put that on hold for another fiscal year. I know the DPW, I believe they mentioned it just this evening on a heavy equipment operator. We were not able to include that at this time, but just to expand upon that a little bit, I just wanted to make the Finance Committee aware of the particular aspects of that department right now. It's the only municipal department that's going through union negotiations currently. So that is really a budget and a department somewhat in flux right now. So I would say that, we originally had some thoughts about switching the budget aspect of this based on our negotiations, but it certainly looks like at this time we're not going to have that negotiation wrapped up in time for town meeting. So we're really moving forward with the current setup as is. And I would expect some adjustments at the fall town meeting based on whatever that final contract comes out to be. So if there's any concerns about that department in particular, I would ask that that we be given a little grace on that one, and then that will be, fully come to fruition probably, in the July, August timeframe. So we're prepared to finalize that budget in the fall. And again, we're looking to make some changes there on how the positions are set up and so forth. I can't get into it because we're still in negotiations, but just to let you know that that is a department that we're trying to make some positive changes that that the union has sought and that we agree would be good for the overall department, but we just unable to cross the finish line in time for this spring town meeting. So again, for the police, the chief had requested 2 full-time officers. We weren't able to fund 2. As you know, the fire chief had asked for an additional $83,000 for additional on-call wages. We've talked to the chief. We think this is something that, we should look at again in the fall. Kind of not wait all till next year on this one, but look at and see if there's something we could do in the fall, mid-year, that would be affordable to make some improvements to that. As you know, it's one of his capital items. He's looking to do some work at the station to create some additional space to be able to have additional bunks and areas for some additional staff. And one of his proposals was to have some on call actually stay at the station certain nights to be able to really have better response times and have more reliability in having call firefighters arrive in a timely manner to these calls.
What would be an example of something shifting in the budget to allow to revisit that in the fall?
I mean, we're going to look at the ambulance receipts to see how those
Okay.
progress, and also our overall budget. There's a lot of assumptions we've had to make in this budget proposal. So I think this was of all the items that we kind of had to say no to, this is the toughest one. So I think we really want to try to look at this one, and if there is any room that's opened up in the budget, this is the one we would probably look at next for a public safety issue.
Go ahead, Pete.
Couldn't you just have left the $70,000 in there and funded it most of the way?
It wouldn't have been sufficient.
Not from last year, but going forward.
Yeah, the 70,000 was actually needed to meet this year's staffing levels, just because there has been some falling off of the ambulance receipts. They go in cycles, and there's been some aspects of the ambulance receipts that have been not favorable to the town. There's been a lot of calls that have come in all at once. So if we get 5 calls within an hour, we can only respond to 2 of them, and the other 3 are being called for mutual aid. So there's been a lot of those instances where we have not been able to get those calls and be able to get the revenue from that. And that's caused a little bit of a lull or a dip in our ambulance receipts, and it's something we're watching closely. The chief is watching closely. We think that can change over time. It's probably just an unfortunate cycle, but it's something that we think we'll be able to, have the call volume as well as continues to increase, and we think the revenues will increase again to maybe support some additional. Right now, the 70,000 was needed just to meet the budget proposal as is.
May I keep going?
Yep, go ahead.
Is this sorry, thank you. Is this your budget, or is this the select board's budget?
It's still my budget. The select board hasn't voted on it. They will vote on it on Monday. And so they've reviewed all these and taken in that information. We'll be providing some additional information to them between now and Monday, at which time they'll be taking the vote.
The prioritization between what's funded and what's not funded. I know that sometimes, having done this, I know that there are some times where you just get to a certain value that you can't fund, but you have a little bit. And so maybe you can get some library hours up there. They're probably don't raise to the same priority as DPW or police or fire or something. I don't know. I don't know the situation, but I know that can happen. Is that the situation here? Have you prioritized library hours over fire and police, or the numbers just don't make sense?
The numbers just don't make sense. I mean, if you look at the library, that's about $12,000. The recreation, that's $15,000. The school is outside the municipal, so that's in the school, 3.5%. So unless you talk about cutting the social worker, we really only have like $25,000 to work
Understood.
with.
Thank you.
So I don't know if that would meet the chief's goals
I
at this
understand.
point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else on, and then the last one was just the increase to the general program expenses for recreation. We're not able to meet that at this time. We are gonna have some meetings with the department head there to talk about, how we can address those issues in the upcoming year. As you know, they have a revolving fund as well, so some of that is driven by the funding availability, by how well their programs are doing. So we'll be working with them on that moving forward. But we were able to provide, as you can see up top, the staff for the inclusive camp that was rolled over from the HCA fund, so they will be able to absolutely maintain that.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm looking on this budget above level service request. Is the conservation agent, is that 4 hours a week, or you built it up to 16 hours a week in case they needed it?
No, it's 4 hours per week right now.
Okay, so you have 16 hours a week.
In the original document, yeah.
In the
So we
original.
didn't,
It's
we weren't
really
able,
above.
we weren't
Yep.
able to
Okay,
do
so
the
that's
full.
the original, okay.
Yeah, the original was up to 16. This is 4 hours. And again, we're just trying to get something set up and going, and then hoping to be able to build on that over the next couple of years.
How's everyone doing? Good.
I need something to eat.
Hang in there. We're almost done.
We're almost
Keep
done.
going.
We're almost
So,
done.
Push.
yeah, we're almost done, and we
Yeah.
can kind of go through this, because these are things that you guys have probably seen before, but the above-level service requests, this just gives you the starting point of a roll-up of what all the department heads had requested. So that's this particular page.
Those are the requests, but not
Yep.
the actual.
Correct. These were
yeah.
just requests.
Yep.
The 558,000 I had mentioned at the top of the meeting, just with regards to what we had to contend with. The capital requests, everybody is pretty familiar with this one. I think you've gone through this quite a bit. Just to be clear, there was $684,000 worth of capital that was considered general fund capital, so that would be funded through free cash. And then again, the enterprise capital, which was the borrowing authorization that we were pursuing. And then the last page really becomes a recommendation with the articles. So you saw all the narrative on the articles. This is the money that goes along with those articles. So the additional operational for HCA, that is the remaining funding that we are putting towards the school resource officer. The capital items, should everything get approved or recommended to be approved by the select board, that is the full gamut of all of the capital items that were requested out of the general fund. The next article is a really important one, not to diminish the others, but this is something I think we just need to pay a bit of additional attention to. There is a debt obligation that we have with the Tri-County School District based on their new build. It is a per-student debt assessment. That has gone down for us this year a little bit, but realistically, that should be rolled into our operational budget at some point. I know that there's been some decisions to sort of save for this and continue to fund it in this manner, but that will run out. We were able to sock away a little over $1 million, which will give us probably 2.5 to 3 years of funding that particular debt, at which time that debt exclusion, that override, that debt amount will need to be brought before the voters at some point. Again, that's more
Unless our new
Mike's
growth goes
world.
through the roof. We can
Yeah, and
afford
we
to
can
pay
just
for
roll it in,
Yeah.
that would be great.
But that could that be factored in annually, though, in terms of funding that tri-county debt?
Yeah, for the next 3 years.
Right.
We anticipate utilizing a portion of that.
Right,
towards
so
that
we're gonna
debt.
use this article to pay that payment. You're not
So it
gonna
won't
see it
be
in
in
the
the
operating budget. So-
Right, but in like fiscal year '28, can another tranche of money go into the?
If we have it, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep, this
Okay.
article will stay open until we close it.
Yep.
And we can continue to fund it year after year. It's much like we fund roads and sidewalks and paving, right?
with
So
you.
we can put whatever amount we designate for that purpose. It's just, essentially, we're using free cash to fund our operation in this manner. This is more targeted and more specific and more deliberate. We're not paying wages and salaries and electricity, but at the same token, it is operational funding. And, we're just trying to do the best and bring it to the voters at an appropriate time.
Trying to give the citizens a little break.
Smart.
On actually, putting forth another debt exclusion to them. I think if we can fund this for several years based on, the current economic stresses, that's what I think
Yep.
we and the select board were looking to do.
Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, I think I heard it, but there was a question a few weeks ago about the allocation to pay debt service, about, based on the number of students that are enrolled in Tri-County. Can you just clarify what you said about that?
Sure. So basically, we get an assessment per student on both the operational assessment as well as the debt assessment. I don't have those particular figures, but it's so much per student. Our enrollment is based on October 1st of the prior year. So when we went to do this budget, our enrollment numbers are as of October 1st of '25. This year, we had 39 students. Last year, when we did our budget, the enrollment numbers on 10/1/24 was 45, which is why we realized a little bit of a drop in both our assessment as well as our debt assessment. But again, going forward, that number is pretty volatile, right? And in my mind, we're probably gonna look at those numbers going up, not down. I'm not entirely sure when those doors open, but it's soon. And there's a strong likelihood that there's gonna be additional enrollment. So when we're looking at $1,070,000, again, that's why I say 2.5, maybe 3 years. We do have additional funds that we allocated last year, so we're gonna use those funds to pay this year's assessment, so we have a little bit of time. This should cover 27, 28, maybe part of 29. But that's what trying to kind of buy ourselves a little bit of time.
Perfect.
Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, if there's no more questions on that, we'll move on to Article 14, $120,000. You
Yeah,
can
the
speak to
FEMA
that.
flood map revision project, I think I did speak at this, to this at a prior meeting. Again, this will, by doing this project, this will enable us to get the FEMA flood maps redrawn in an area of town that would affect our commercial, industrial areas along 109 that by the new maps would make much more difficult to build on. So, and there is also a few homes in the community that are negatively impacted by this. So, based on some initial work we did with an engineering firm, they feel it's highly likely that by doing this process, we will get a more favorable map for the community.
Yep.
Okay, the next article is Article 21, which is the 111F Injury Leave Indemnity Fund. Essentially, this fund, we like to keep around $300,000 to $400,000. This basically solidifies our ability to pay police or fire who go out on disability. From time to time, we have no idea what that is gonna bring. We hope nobody goes out, but should that happen, it protects us from, being able to pay those claims. Reserve for compensated balances, we just
I think we
spoke
talked
about that one.
It's $100,000 for that.
Yep. Our OPEB trust funding, we make I want to say a donation,
Usual.
it's not a donation. We make a contribution to that every,
There
it
you
feels
go.
like a donation, right? For a $51.5 million liability, but we make a contribution to that every year. So that is our contribution this year. And same thing, stabilization, we like to put money towards stabilization. Just an update there, our balance is just over $3 million, and it is recommended that our stabilization, our reserves, are between 5% and 7% of our operating budget. With our new operating budget number and our current balance, we're at about 6.44%, so we're healthy in that regard. I'd like to continue to fund stabilization to the best of our ability for as long as we can, and, leverage it when we need to, but we have a good, healthy balance there. I'd like to keep that going.
And that certainly
Good.
helps when you are bond rating.
Yep.
Correct.
Because we're going to be going out with bonds, so we want to keep that bond rating as high as possible.
I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think that's it. So that expends the rest of our free cash certification for this year.
Okay, all right.
Final questions, thoughts? We're digesting anything? So,
So we will have additional information
Yep.
for the committee. That'll go out by email by Friday.
yeah,
So I think, Amanda, you're in on Friday? So I will make sure, or Jody and I will make sure we get information to Amanda to send out all of you on Friday.
Yeah.
It'll basically be the same information that'll be going out to the select board for their meeting on Monday. So you'll see, the final warrant that they're gonna see, and the recommended budget. I think it's like that 6-page, 7-page sheet that shows
Yep.
all the budgetary information, the recommendations. So you will receive that.
so pretty much what's available on Friday is what you'll present to select board on
On
Monday.
Right, so you'll be able to follow along
Yep.
if you'd like to watch or come in. And I know hopefully see all of you tomorrow evening.
Yeah, any thoughts or comments on tri-board meeting for tomorrow night downstairs, I believe?
Yeah, I think we're gonna, we're
Good.
going to have,
The auditors come in?
I don't think I brought the agenda with me, but we do have the moderator coming in, so.
Auditors.
Auditors.
Not the moderator, the
Yeah.
auditor. He may come in, I don't know. But the auditors, our new auditors will be there, so you'll get a chance to hear how we're doing from their perspective. And then we're also going to, I think, speak a little bit about the school building project.
Yep.
And then we'll talk about the warrant. It'll be fairly similar to what you saw this evening, so we're just probably gonna do a quick go-through of that and answer any questions anyone has. And also another kind of overview. Again, we'll do that fairly quickly, because I think the only folks that have not heard it directly would be the school committee.
Yeah.
And then any other items or concerns, topics that, just, that members have that just want to have a general conversation about.
Yeah, and for everybody and for new members though, but it's, I think Tri-Board's great because it allows all the school committee, FinCom, select board to talk and more strategize, talk about bigger picture things, kind of like a little bit right now,
It's
but.
a laid-back workshop meeting.
It is.
So it's not formal.
It is.
It's a little more informal, so
Yeah.
everyone has a chance to speak and put forth any
pretty good.
questions, comments.
Actually, this might be the second one. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yep, and
Yep.
again, what the plan is to try to have these 4 times a year at this
Yep.
point, based on the recent bylaw that was put in place.
Correct, understood. All right.
All right.
Thank you so
Thank you
much
very
for
much.
staying
Sure.
late tonight.
And if anyone has any questions, as always,
Yeah.
go through the chair and we'll be happy to follow up and answer. Same thing with when you guys decide on warrant articles and
We're gonna talk about
such.
that later tonight,
Great.
just
Let us
briefly.
know how we can help.
Yep,
Thank you.
awesome.
All right.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Have a good evening.
All right, you
Thanks,
too. We'll talk soon. All right, we're on the home stretch here. Meeting minutes approval for April 1st, 2026.
Mr. Chair, can I make a comment first before you
Oh,
do that?
please do.
Based on the question that was just asked about the discussion last week, there is a mistake which probably can be corrected, but the motion should include that, it shouldn't be just approve as written.
So what's the issue?
Yeah.
So-
The 28 million needs to be corrected.
No, the Tri-County debt assessment is a fixed charge to the town. It is not.
It's not, it fluctuates.
And that's what we discussed last week.
We did.
So make the motion.
So Mr. Chair, I move that the committee vote to approve the minutes of Wednesday, April 1st, with the following exception. In the third bullet down after Millis Schools FY '27 budget presentation, the second sentence of that third bullet states, Tri-County debt assessment is a fixed charge, to be revised to say Tri-County's debt assessment is a variable charge based on number of students, and remove the regardless of student numbers.
Seconded?
There's been a motion to approve April 1st FinCom meeting minutes as written with the exception of, under the Millis Schools presentation section, third bullet, second sentence in that third bullet paragraph, to remove regardless of student numbers, talking about the effective per pupil costs. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain. It passes. Good catch. Thank you. Yes.
I think I have to recuse myself.
Oh, you do?
from this, So please just don't mark me.
You're abstaining.
Yeah,
You're
abstaining
abstaining.
from all of it.
Abstaining, yes. Efforts were elsewhere, correct. Okay. All right, so we got that. Are we good with all the new business? I don't have anything. I will talk about articles, actually. So in the past, we've decided them. Do people want any input in terms of their articles, or do you want me to sign them? Okay. So we don't have to do this now, since we're late. However, why doesn't everybody in the next 24 hours email me what you would prefer for articles?
If no preference.
Yeah,
If no
then say
preference,
it,
you just-
or don't email me.
Then he'll just pick 'em,
Yeah, I'll give you the budget article. Yeah, but I'll converse with everybody, make sure everyone's happy with the article assignment. But if you have a preference, please let me know.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Perhaps since we will likely have a quorum tomorrow, maybe we could finalize them before we leave the tri-board tomorrow? If you deem it appropriate and.
100%.
We don't go for 2 hours tomorrow.
Yeah, correct. Well, let's do that. We'll sign tomorrow. So, when you get home, feel free and email.
Noon tomorrow. right?
Yeah, by 24 hours, by tri-board.
Tied up so much tomorrow.
Any liaison? We talked about a lot tonight. I think we're good.
All right. Motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion second to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, for staying late and having a good meeting.